Hello and welcome to our second ever Tuesday Talk with Ruby Reese. This evening we are going to be joined with two fantastic guests that I'm really excited to speak to about a topic that I have grown to become more and more interested in over the past months. So tonight we're going to be talking about the breed greyhounds. And we will just wait until they have joined. Just so people kind of have an idea about where the idea for the format came from, we set up topic experts, and we would love to talk to them about topics that they're really passionate about. Good evening. How are you doing?
Grant, can you hear me okay?
It's a little bit far away, I think, but
Move forward. So any better?
Perfect. Yes, exactly. Otherwise, we can shout. Are you good this evening?
Yeah, we're great. We've just come back from a lovely outing at the dog park. We've got a very tired boy. I don't think he'll be joining us for very much today. But we're all happy and healthy down here in Cork.
Very good. It's a lovely sunny evening. So thank you for taking the time to join. I think Noelle is going to be joining us as well in a second. But maybe you can start off by introducing yourself.
Right, well, my name is Zoe. I am more commonly known as Robert the Greyhound's human, or the person at the end of Robert the Greyhound's leash. I don't know how we kind of got a little bit well known in the kind of greyhound group. I think it's because we're out and about quite a lot. We're kind of involved with greyhounds, both on the whole awareness, the academic side, the rescue side, and in just general support. So we kind of just got to know everyone over the last 4 years of owning Robert. Yeah, it's just the Cork Greyhound community and the Greyhound community as a whole. That's us. So it's Robert.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that introduction. And I think we have Noelle on the line as well.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Sorry, my wouldn't let me join on my laptop, so I'm on my phone.
No worries at all. Would you mind do us the pleasure of introducing yourself this evening?
Sure. So my name is Noelle, and I'm the proud dog mama of Daphne, who is a very aggressively friendly greyhound. We joke we call her aggressively friendly. I got her from Wright, who are a rescue who rehome greyhounds, and the main volunteers for Wright were unavailable tonight, so I'm stepping in to represent them. So forgive me if I make any errors, because they would be much better than me, but I'm happy to be here.
Not at all. We're delighted to have you both here representing. And I suppose this is a good point before I introduce myself. This is a format offered as entertainment. We all do our best, but we will make sometimes, rash generalizations. And that's completely okay because it's entertainment and not specific advice for your family, your dog, and your lifestyle. So if you do have any concerns, please speak to a certified professional or an organization that's dealing with the question you have in mind. So let me introduce myself, and then we can go ahead and rush into generalizations. I am Killian, one of the two founders at Ruby Reese. We set up our brand almost a year ago. I think it's this Saturday is our 1 year birthday. And
congratulations.
Thank you very much. And we have created a range because our own dog Ruby has sensitive skin, sensitive tummy, and everything that goes along with that. So without further ado, I think we can jump right into the topic of greyhounds. As soon as you're experts here, let's start off by defining what exactly is a greyhound and what is a greyhound not, and where does it fit into the doggy world of breeds?
I think I'll take this one. Well, Greyhound is one of the more ancient breeds. They are part of what we call the Sighthound family. They go alongside breeds like the Bourgeois, the Whistle, the Alsace, ancient breeds that we use for hunting. They are often kind of mixed up with lurchers, but by definition, a lurcher is any sighthound crossed with any working breed. More commonly in Ireland, we tend to get greyhound cross collie or greyhound crossing with the bully breed, so bull lurcher. But greyhounds in themselves are a specific breed, so specifically for speed, not stamina. So they've been around for a long, long time. They're one of the more ancient breeds. They're called carvings of sighthound breeds and Egyptian tombs, stone carvings in Celtic times. They've been around for millennia. They're one of the more ancient breeds. Sighthounds are very popular across history, both as hunting companions, but as also for their gentle temperament. That's why you often see kind of paintings of children with sighthounds, greyhounds with us across history, really.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
For a long, long time.
Absolutely. It's really, really interesting. Actually, by the way, Zoe, I think we're still hearing you a little bit far away. Just so you know. Okay, no worries at all. I was just about to say it's really interesting to see the different types of greyhounds. We've met quite a few sighthounds, at events over the last couple of months. And, everything from, once you get to know them, you start seeing everything from the small little Italian greyhounds right through lurchers, like you were saying. And you mentioned that they're really, really gentle. Yes, absolutely. Way better, because I think that's really going to help, because you've got such valuable insights to share with us that it would be a shame for it to be difficult.
I think it's just the mic on my my screen. It doesn't seem to be picking me up very well, so we'll just have to go the old-fashioned route.
It's 10 times better. So you mentioned that greyhounds are very well known to be a gentle breed. That's interesting. So maybe it's a good time to dig right into the characteristics that are typical of a greyhound.
Well, yeah, we would classify them as quite a gentle breed with quite a laid-back temperament. I know there's been an awful lot of negative connotations of greyhounds in the last kind of 50 to 100 years in particular as kind of high-energy hunting dogs that are going to chase down your cat, your kid, or your next-door neighbour's dog. But that does kind of come back off the back of them not being around as often as pets in the last kind of decade or so in particular. But they are big, gentle giants. They have been bred as both hunting and companion breeds. They have been specifically genetically bred to be laid back, easy to kind of handle. And although they have got that amazing speed and that kind of prey drive, when they're not in that hunting mode, they're upside down in bed, they're laying in kennels, they're relaxing. They are the stereotypical gentle giant, and it's been that way for millennia. They have been specifically bred to be active hunting dogs that are great family pets.
And I think I might jump in here. I used to be scared of dogs till about 4 years ago. And when I moved off from being scared to thinking about having a dog maybe 2 years after that, and I was investigating, what type of breeds would be a good dog for me. I wanted a dog that would be a little bit lazy, because I'm a little bit lazy, that didn't need a lot of exercise. And I wanted a really affectionate dog that would be kind of chilled out and calm. I live alone and it's a calm house. And I was so surprised when greyhounds kept popping to the top of the list. I would search, and greyhounds were always coming up as kind of, affectionate, chilled out dogs. And I was here like, what's this about? And then a friend of mine got one, and it was during COVID, and I kept seeing him through video camera because she's in Dublin and I wasn't. I'll say hi Riley to the doggo. I kept seeing him being like the most amazing pet, and I was saying, I have to get a greyhound, So it was that was actually what attracted me to them, out of going from being scared of dogs to I want a really cozy, affectionate, chilled out dog, and then being the breed that just kept coming up as a recommendation.
And even from my own feedback, from the being at events and everything, I think greyhounds definitely comes in the top 3 breeds that come out, be the best huggers. I've got so many hugs with greyhounds and similar sighthound breeds over the last couple of months. It's been fantastic. So I can definitely vouch for their typical lovable nature. And one thing that that we've just touched on is the energy level. Now, I posted up yesterday a little question box, and I know that the person that asked the question is also joining in. So, we associate greyhounds in Ireland with, high energy, sporting, racing. Do greyhounds need to be walked for miles and miles a day? And I know you've already touched on it, but let's put it out there in black and white. What are their energy needs typically? Again, generalizations.
The average everyday greyhound is one of the laziest breeds. They are built for speed, not stamina. So there'd probably be more walking in your average Bichon or Yorkie than there would be in the average greyhound. Now, there is always exceptions. We know a few tap hounds now that would go hiking and running for hours a day. But the average hound is more than happy with a 20-minute stroll around the block, a chance to stretch their legs every now and again, a potter around the garden, a trip to the beach now and then, the same as your kind of everyday small dog. Mm-hmm. When you kind of compare them to the energy requirements, like you wouldn't put them in the same category as something like a Labrador or a Golden Retriever or even a Shepherd, who kind of same size group. You would kind of put them in alongside the same small dogs, which is why they often appear in lists of dogs that make great apartment pets. That's how I came across greyhounds. I live in a 54 square metre apartment with a massive greyhound who is currently flaked out in bed because he's had a stroll around the park today. They're very laid back, very casual, 20-minute strolls and they'd be happy out. But if you are looking for one that would be up for more strenuous activity, there are those exceptions. They're kind of a breed that you're going to find one that fits your family. For example, Robert would have a good bit more stamina than some of the other hounds because we take him out everywhere. I brought him up with me to college for years. He's been to loads of events. He has that stamina to kind of keep going if needs be, compared to some of the other hounds who they make it to an event or they make it around the block and they're ready for bed. Absolutely. So in terms of energy levels, they come in a huge spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. Daphne, my own, is like super lazy when it comes to walks. Like we call her the dinosaur because she plods along and really doesn't like doing walks. And, 120-minute walk a day for her is really all she wants. Like, she'll do more, but, she doesn't want to. And from the rescue point of view, when you are signing up to foster or adopt, what Right would ask is that you would commit to doing 20 minutes a day.
Okay, which is totally doable, even Absolutely. For us lazy folk or very busy folk.
100%.
I think it's definitely doable. Okay, and I suppose just to take that a step further, so there's probably plenty of people watching in that do have, say an older dog, a small, like us, a French bulldog who's not old but lazy. There probably plenty of people out there with not an energetic husky that wants to be on the side of a mountain. So you think that a greyhound could be a viable option for these families?
Yeah, they kind of fit into most households. Oftentimes when people are considering getting a dog, they consider what's going to match their lifestyle. And even if you classify yourself as an active lifestyle where you might go hiking on a weekend, it's not Monday to Friday, which should be something like a husky would want, or a Malinois, or any of those very high drive dogs. Versus you can get a greyhound that would be perfectly content with their stroll around the block Monday to Friday, but then happy to go for their hike on Saturday or Sunday. Then you can get hounds who don't really need that hike, that are very happy for their stroll. They do fit most households, and in particular, they do very well with older people with maybe some mobility difficulties, because you can get the older hounds who definitely are happy to stay home more often. I've seen hounds in nursing homes doing therapy dog work who are more than happy with just doing a stroll around the kind of courtyards or gardens. I've seen hounds in homes where their owners are wheelchair bound and they're more than happy to just go for their laps around the block. They are very adaptable dogs, and a good rescue, like Right, will find a dog who suits your household and your energy requirements out of that spectrum of energy requirements in dogs, particularly greyhounds.
And I suppose this is a great bridge across to who Right is and what does adoption look like? What is the availability of greyhounds in Ireland? it seems like there's a whole spectrum of dogs out there. What does a matching process look like? I've also heard words like fostering thrown around in the community. So maybe you can give us an introduction to that as well.
Absolutely, I'd love to. So, as I said, I have adopted through Right. I have also fostered for Right, as Zoe has. And so Right was set up to rehome in Ireland. A lot of the greyhound rescues will send the dogs abroad because there's too many. There's thousands of them come out of the industry every year, and there's not enough homes. So, they're sent abroad, but Right focuses on rehoming in Ireland, and that was the mission for them. So we do two sets of things. We foster dogs and we look for permanent homes for dogs. So the process, the checking process is very similar for both. So, you can go on to adoptagreyhound.ie, that's their website, or contact them on Instagram or Facebook, and they'll contact you. There's a form to fill out. They ask, about your home, your habits, when you'll be there. Do you have a garden? You don't have to have a garden, but if you need a garden, it needs to be secured because obviously they could escape. And, you fill in the questionnaire, and then Linda, who runs Right, contacts you and does that matching process. So I can tell you my example. I contacted them and I was a bit nervous because I hadn't ever had a dog before. She spent an hour on the phone with me, just chatting to me, talking about what my hopes were having a dog, what I would like life to be like with when I had a dog, what was my home like, and just, she, getting to know me, getting to know my wants, talked about a couple of dogs that she had available. And she was saying, for me, I needed a kind of a calm, relaxed dog. First time dog owner, needed to have a successful experience. And I asked about one or two that were on their, on their posters being available, but she two of them, she said, no, they wouldn't suit you because of X, Y, or Z. But, there's three here I'd recommend. So we set up an appointment for me to meet the three dogs. And I spent 2 hours with the three dogs in a park, just going for walks, meeting them, talking to the foster parents. And I had a home check where, someone comes out, just checks that the home is suitable for a dog, that the garden is secure, or if there's no garden, you understand that you have to bring them out for their pee breaks and their potty training. And so that's the process. Right focuses on trying to match the dog to you and your needs, because that's what makes a successful pairing. Because the last thing we want to do is, send a dog to somebody and it not work out. It's distressing for the dog and it's distressing for the person. And, then maybe they don't try again, so we really spend a lot of time, on that match, what works for you, what will you need, if you've kids, or, what ages are they, do they, how you manage that. So there's a quite involved process, a number of talks and a home visit. But on the other hand, then there's huge amounts of support available. So there's a very active WhatsApp group, there's an active Facebook group, and the two main people, Linda and Sheila, are really available for help and support. And I mean, I can't count the number of times in the beginning I rang or text asking for information or advice. And it's a lovely family of people, to be in touch with. Then for fostering, because it's slightly different, the dogs come from industry, so they haven't been in a home before most of the time. So it is a little bit more involved. And for fostering, we would say no kids under 8 and no other dogs in the home, because the dog, the greyhound is going to come into a house. They haven't been in one before. There's new noises. They may not have ever seen other dog breeds because they would have only been with greyhounds, and sometimes they don't know what other dogs are. So there is a bit of a learning curve. So fostering is a different commitment. There's a little bit more bringing the dog on the journey. But the nice thing then when you're adopting is Right's dogs all have been in foster homes. So you get, that feedback and story from the foster parents about how the dog is. And that's just really helpful.
And you also hear stories about failed fosters, right?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Well, you're talking to a failed foster.
So my story was a little bit sad. My first dog, Ali, I got her and she was 4, and unfortunately picked up a viral infection and was gone in 48 hours after I had her, about 6 months, just out of nowhere. So I was determined not to adopt straight away and that I would foster. but I didn't want to get attached. I was only going to do emergency fosters where something didn't work out and they needed people for a couple of days. So I did 2 of them, and then Daphne came for 4 days and never left.
That's brilliant. I love it. I love how negative it sounds, and then there's such a silver lining to it.
It's and you know what? It's a lovely experience because there are some people who only want to foster because it suits their lifestyle. And they foster again and again and again. Right has an amazing foster, Gwen, who's just had so many dogs and, have done fabulous things for them. But, and then there are people who, it's a way to see if it suits them. And the one thing I would like to say as well, if you are interested in fostering, we do organise alternative care when it is holidays, so that you don't leave the fact that you have a holiday coming up put you off being interested in fostering.
That sounds brilliant. Yeah, I think the community is thought of everything. It's I know to some people it might sound like a bit of a faff, but there's home visits and there's this and that. But it's really setting you up for success. I mean, nobody holds your hand like that when you go out and you buy, rent, procure a puppy. It's really a different story. It sounds like the community really, really wants to see this being a huge success.
Yeah, and what the other thing that I think is really, really nice is I have met a whole circle of friends from the greyhound community, because greyhounds often, respond very positively to other greyhounds. So I do a lot of greyhound walks. And Zoe and myself actually this afternoon went to fetch together before we came here with our 2 dogs. And, I have so many friends that I've made through this community. It's just amazing. And the other thing that we, support each other is, and if someone is going away, like Zoe mentioned today, she's going away for 2 nights in June. And I said, I'll take Robert for you, So, we try and support each other in looking after the dogs as well, to prevent, people having to always pay kennel fees and stuff if they're going on holiday. So it's a lovely, very supportive community.
That's
a community I often refer to as the cult of the greyhound, because once you're in, you're never getting out.
You see it because I see both of you down Marina Market, for example, on a regular basis, and it's usually a signal if you see a greyhound in the distance that another about 14 or 15 of them are on the way somewhere. Turn around and blink your eyes, and they'll have
shake a packet of treats and they will appear.
Exactly, yeah. So what else was I going to mention? So we are talking about being around Marina Market and events. A question as well that sometimes comes up, I'm sure, is you often see greyhounds wearing muzzles. Is this to do with their history, for example, in racing? Is this a comfort thing? Does this mean the dog is dangerous? Let's just maybe in a very generalistic way unpack that one.
So there's no legislation involving greyhounds and muzzles. They don't fall under the Dangerous Dogs Act or anything of that regard. They fall under their own act, the control of greyhounds. So legally, they do not need to be muzzled. Now, that is different in Northern Ireland, for example, where in public greyhounds do need to be muzzled. With muzzles, it really comes down to the individual and the individual dog. So, for example, Robert doesn't wear a muzzle when he's out walking, but if he's playing off leash with other dogs, he does. And that's solely for everyone's safety and comfort. He gets a bit overstimulated with other dogs when he's playing. So it's just kind of like a crash helmet. In other cases, sometimes when a dog comes out of kennels, particularly when they've only been raised in industry and they've never been outside of kennels before, say for maybe racing or coursing, which are very high arousal states where they are chasing a small animal, they can sometimes see small breeds like a Maltese or Bichon as potentially something that they have to chase, or they can be a bit taken aback by all these other breeds that they might not recognise. And that can often come out in a bit of a fear response. They can be a bit growly, a bit mouthy. So sometimes for safety, it's just a case of muzzling them whilst they build that confidence and get to know how to navigate the world. That often comes down to fosters. I know I fostered for Wright a few times, and generally for the first few weeks at minimum, and usually for a more extended period when you're fostering, it is policy to muzzle the dogs just whilst they get to know what's going on in the world outside of kennels.
Yeah, and
to make sure there's no incidents.
I can talk to that as well for Right. So Right have a policy if you're fostering that when the dog is out of your home and garden to muzzle them, and it's for the protection of the fosterer and the dog, because if another dog who's off lead comes up and starts an altercation, we would not want the greyhound to respond and generate vet bills. So it's a very practical, purpose. Right don't. Right don't have the funds to be available, and we just want to make sure that the dog is safe, and that if another dog comes up and attacks it or threatens it, that it doesn't have an opportunity to for anything to happen. And it's really just a really practical point of view that we're trying to make sure that there will be no accidental vet bills. And I left my first girl when she was my own, not off lead, with 3 dogs that she knew in a park, and they were fine. But then a few more dogs joined in, and suddenly there was a melee, and there was like 3 or 4 different dogs bitten. All lovely dogs, nothing wrong with any of them, but just too many dogs, and it became a pack.
Of course.
And I had actually had a muzzle on her, and someone said take it off her, and I did, because I was foolish and a new dog owner. So I understand sometimes you see, oh, they might be scary, or they look whatever. A lot of the time it's just self-protection.
And I suppose when we see it, those of us that until now didn't know any better, I suppose one thing that you see now, having it so brilliantly explained, is just a community that is, again, being very, very thoughtful and considerate of everyone and everyone's needs, in not just their own, but also strangers and strangers' dogs. It's the what if as opposed to anything else.
100%. And my Daphne's one, hers is hot fuchsia pink, and she looks fabulous in it. I think there might even be a picture on my profile. So I made the point of getting a fun colour in it to make it look less scary. And during COVID, all the kids just come up and go, "Why is she wearing a mask?" So
that's
yeah.
We had the same. In fact, I actually have Robert's muzzle here, and it is turquoise blue. So a muzzle is just a safety precaution. Muzzle dogs are not bad dogs. There's numerous reasons dogs can be wearing a muzzle outside of the greyhounds. I know a Labrador that eats rocks who eats a muzzle. There's 110 reasons dogs might wear a muzzle, and for the hounds it is a safety precaution, but also just as a bit of a, hey, we might need some space here whilst they learn to navigate what life is outside of kennels.
Absolutely. We have someone else saying that in the comments here, saying that they have their muzzle to stop their hound from eating trash on the street. So plenty of positives there. The amount of times during COVID that I had to, as Ruby was a puppy, pulling out, strangers' tissues out of her mouth and stuff, just was not the best experiences of my life. So I can definitely see some of the benefits. And I guess you've mentioned that many of them are coming from racing. Do all of them come from sporting, or I suppose it's a majority in this country, is it? Yeah.
The vast majority of greyhounds, I'd say 99.9% of them here in Ireland, are born into the racing and coursing industry. They are tattooed as puppies. There's a traceability scheme in place there to try and kind of keep them a bit more controlled in that regard. It's very, very rare that you would have a greyhound born outside of that industry. They do exist outside the industry. There are hounds, greyhounds in particular, that they are bred and exist outside of racing and coursing. Some of them exist in like a show dog kind of world. I see show greyhounds who look very different than their sporting components. But they do exist outside of racing. But here in Ireland, because we have such a large industry, pretty much all of them are coming from racing and coursing. There's a kind of joke in the veterinary world, for example, that a greyhound puppy is a unicorn, and it's the same in rescue. I have seen 1 or 2 come into rescue young, but the vast majority are coming in at 2, 3, 4 years of age. They generally haven't been outside of kennels very often, even if they are in an open rearing situation in kind of countryside. They wouldn't have the kind of socialization skills that you would kind of give to, let's say, Ruby when she was a puppy, going for her walks and meeting other breeds and being out in the city or the park, or kind of getting that social skills and desensitization. True. Which is why foster homes are so important, because they are that next chapter. They are introducing a dog who has probably never seen something as simple as stairs to everyday life. I know one of my last fosters took weeks to manage the stairs. He just could not get his head around the fact that they went up or down. And I know that's a big hurdle for a lot of them, but it's silly little things like that that is so rewarding when they do figure out, that makes fostering such a valuable asset for a rescue.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Daphne could not understand that it wasn't another dog in the mirror. So she kept trying to lick the other dog because she's like super friendly. So she kept trying to lick the other dog, and then we just like start when she licked this hard surface. So, you know, it's very cute, you know, really is. And it's a very rewarding to take a dog in and see them learn those things, you know, see them realize that, hey, it's okay, the food will be here. Hey, it's okay for me to lie in this, you know, dog bed, maybe on the couch, depending on the house, you know. It's, you know, people are going to be cuddly and affectionate. It's incredibly rewarding. And I would like to add one thing, because sometimes we have people say, oh, my house is too small. So I would point to Zoe, who lives in a 54 square foot apartment. So for anyone who's used to feet, that's about a 500 square foot. I live in a 900 square foot house, and I've had 2 or 3 dogs here at different times, and it's fine. They curl up small. They can sprawl, but they do curl up small. And, you know, the main thing is, you know, that you have the want and interest, and then that you either have a secure garden, or if you've no garden, that you're willing to take them out for their potty breaks.
And I love hearing that, you know, you still get some of those puppy-like behaviours, even though you might be adopting an older dog. For us, it's very cute. I suppose it's sad that, you know, they haven't had those experiences earlier in life, but at least you get to share those experiences, like you said, the first time in the mirror, the first couple of probably 100 times going up and down stairs. So you know you're not missing out on those experiences by getting an older dog. And I guess they probably walk better on the lead than most 8-week-old puppies, and are used to wearing muzzles as well. So you've already got a bit of a package there.
Yeah, no, they're great.
Yeah, they do often go through what we call a second puppyhood, where they discover something that you would think should be a normal kind of thing, like dog toys or a paddling pool. I remember the first Christmas I had Robert, he had shown no interest whatsoever in toys for, it was going on about 8 months now, no interest whatsoever. The day I brought him up to my parents' house, he discovered the wrapping paper was the best thing ever. And all the wrapping paper on the presents was impressively destroyed and shredded. And I couldn't be mad at him because he was just playing. He was playing properly for the first time. He was just being a bold puppy. Now, he was 3 years old and 40 kg, and you're looking at him like, Jesus Christ. But he's still just going through this second puppyhood. He's learning, he's gaining confidence, and that's one of the more amazing parts of adopting a slightly older dog, because they do go through this second awakening. They learn how to play, how to go swimming, how to fetch, how to sit, all these fun little tricks and playthings. It's all so new to them. Once they gain that bit of confidence, they blossom.
And then their personalities really come out. And I suppose you mentioned already that, you know, there's a greyhound out there to suit you. So unfortunately, I'm guessing there's also a huge supply in the country as well. So is it a case where there's literally lists and lists of dogs available?
It's incredibly tough at the moment, and it's incredibly tough for every rescue, not just you know. COVID happened and everyone got a dog. After COVID happened, suddenly some people didn't want their dogs anymore, or there was too many puppies being bred. So there's an overabundance of dogs in every pound and in every rescue. We do have lists of people waiting to come in to foster. We don't have our own kennels. So we are dependent on foster homes to take those dogs off the list. So, you know, when you step up and foster for a right or for any rescue, you're actually, you know, you're saving a dog and you're giving another dog a chance. You're actually saving 2, because one dog comes from wherever they're waiting and then they can take another one. So it's a hugely positive thing, but it's very sad at the moment. And unfortunately, greyhounds are, you know, they're big dogs, and they're misunderstood, and they're not the popular cute little puppy in the rescue or in the pound. And the fact that some people again think, oh, I couldn't keep up with one, so I won't get one. So it is really tough for them. So I would tell anyone get a greyhound over any other pet, but I know you might feel differently with your lovely Ruby. But it is difficult out there for all the rescues. There are big lists, but if you can take one or if you can help, it makes a huge difference. You're genuinely saving a life.
Yeah, there's always been waiting lists for greyhounds, as there is a constant supply of them being produced in Ireland for racing and coursing in particular. Off the back of, as Noelle said, COVID and the increase of other breeds, those lists are getting longer and longer. There isn't a huge demand in Ireland for greyhounds, but there is huge demand overseas. I know an awful lot of rescues who do send dogs to Germany, Italy, Sweden, Switzerland, because they are perceived as the amazing pets they are there.
And there is nothing wrong with them going abroad. I know Right focuses on rehoming in Ireland, because that's what we want to do. But if those other rescues didn't send them abroad, those dogs wouldn't survive. So it is a necessarily part of the process. But we're just focusing on what we can do here in Ireland.
Well, you've me completely convinced. I'm sure there's loads of people watching in and will be watching recordings later that are going to be convinced. So how do people like us find out more? How do we, are there events that we can meet greyhounds at?
We actually have a meet and greet coming up. Thank you for the lovely lead in, and I'm not sure that you knew. There is a meet and greet in Dublin on the 28th of May where people can contact us, make an appointment and come and meet some of the greyhounds that are available for adoption. And then if anybody in Cork or, further down the country or across the country, because I would like to say Right actually do rehome nationally. So, you don't have to be in Dublin or Cork. We do rehome dogs all around the country. But, if you're not able to make the meet and greet in Dublin, there are some dogs in foster in Cork as well. So you could come and meet some of them. Or if you're interested, we could arrange something one-on-one as well.
That is absolutely brilliant. Well, I'm super convinced. I just need to find the right timing in our life, but it's definitely coming. I think even after this evening, I'm even more convinced, and there'll be plenty more people interested as well. Are there any closing thoughts that we forgot to cover on greyhounds? Because I don't want to take up too much more of your evening. Do you have any other thoughts on greyhounds apart from them being lovable couch potatoes that like a little bit of a quick run every now and then?
They are the funniest, goofiest dogs. And as a person, I don't have children. Greyhounds have only one layer of hair, so they get cold in winter. So did it hurt me that my dog needs clothes? Absolutely not. I tell you, I spend so much money on her. She has more clothes than I do. I love that part as well. And I love the fact that, it is for her benefit. She needs to stay warm, but I get to have the most cute, adorable, fashionable dog. It's just something some people don't know about. They only have the one layer of hide, and they're so low body fat that they actually do need to keep warm. And probably the only other thing then is we have this funny saying called the greyhound scream of death. You'll hear a little scream from them and you'll run thinking, oh my God, what's happening? And they're holding their little paw up, and you look at it and you check your paw and there's nothing wrong, and then they put it down and walk away. They're fine. They just hurt, maybe stepped on a stone and they leave a little scream out, but we call it the greyhound scream of death. So it's very, very funny. And one other thing that's unusual about greyhounds that I'd like to bring up is there is a global greyhound walk held every year internationally. And in Cork last year, we had 140 dogs at the park doing a walk. And the year before, I think we had about 115. And I know there's a walk in Dublin. I don't know the Dublin numbers, and a couple of other walks around the country. But it is something that people don't know about. There's such a big community. There's regular walks in Dublin and Cork for greyhounds. You can engage with the community or not, but it is there, and it is a lovely supportive thing for everybody.
Do you have an idea which month that?
It's in September, and I actually think I'm not sure what date it is. I'll message you afterwards, but it is the most amazing experience to come to, because literally I don't know that many breeds where you could have over 100 of their dogs all in a line, all kind of walking down a country lane together, and it not be a problem.
I've decided I'm going to be there. I can't imagine so many greyhounds together. The amount
It's absolutely
amazing
fantastic.
chaos.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And Zoe, do you have any closing thoughts for us?
Off the back of some of Noelle's comments, I think some of the other quirks of greyhounds kind of need to be covered, like their kind of weird tendency to sleep upside down, all 4 feet in the air, tongue hanging out their mouth. You look at them and think you need to call a priest for an exorcism. It's called roaching. It's a kind of really common thing in the greyhounds. It's a sign of comfort. They do have an awful lot of breed quirks, some of them funkier than others, like the greyhound scream of death, but they also have very, very thin skin. So that's why kind of off-leash play has to be kind of monitored, make sure the area is safe. I know a fair few hounds, Robert included, who have skewered themselves on bushes and trees and kind of done some serious damage. It's kind of the little negatives to greyhounds is they are a little bit more fragile than your kind of average collie. You kind of want to wrap them with bubble wrap and hope for the best, but yeah, they can be expensive vet bills sometimes, particularly because they do have some genetic dispositions to things like dental issues, corns, which is a kind of small paw pad issue. It's kind of small, like it's not a tumor as such, but it's a kind of calcification of the skin. That's very common in the breed. There are some kind of quirks there that you do need to kind of know about or be aware of when you are kind of thinking of adopting or fostering hounds, just because they are kind of quirks that specifically tend to impact greyhounds with its lurchers more so than a collie or a German shepherd or a Belgian Malinois or any of those kind of breeds. Just certain things like that. When you're in the community as a whole, the cult of the greyhound, you will get that support, and someone will always be on hand to kind of talk about it, give you some advice, maybe, oh, well, I feed my greyhound this brand of food and this agrees with them. Maybe try it for your dog, because the gas out of greyhounds can clear a room if they're not agreeing with their food.
And there's a lovely thing they do actually called chattering, where, their teeth chatter when they're happy. And it's just the most adorable thing. You just see them and they're like, it's really just lovely. And they love their ears being rubbed. You rub their ears and you just see my girl's eyes go, ah, when you rub her ears. So, they are fabulous. And, I suppose to wrap it up from right, we would say we are desperately in need of foster homes and adopters. Reach out, we'll soon figure out if it's suitable or not. And if you're looking to adopt, we'll pick the right, we'll work to get you the right dog. And then just adoptagreyhound.ie is their website. And they're on, Rehoming Irish Greyhounds team on Facebook and on Instagram. And their Instagram, the girl who does their Instagram is fantastic. And she just reads some of the fabulous adoption stories or foster fail stories. And you'll just fall in love with them there.
Thank you so much for sharing, the quirks of a quirky breed, the amazing community that it sounds like that you have, surrounding greyhounds in Ireland, all of the amazing work that Wright is doing, just sharing absolutely everything. I know it was a really, really short space of time to try and get everything in, but this is just a taster to get everyone hungry about the topic. Now there's plenty of resources out there online, on YouTube, and in the community itself to go and check out. Please, for everyone watching, consider following Wright and also our speakers this evening. I'll post up everyone later on and under this reel afterwards. Thank you once again and have a brilliant evening.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
And thanks for having us.